Welcome back to the program. Right now, we are joined by Roger Stone for the Stone Zone, as we have been doing for the last 4 years. A huge week for Roger, obviously. Roger Stone, how you doing, my friend?
I'm none the worse for wear, all things considered.
Um, I want to back out of the larger conversation that you've been having with everybody over the last 48 hours, and I think it's important for the public to understand, and maybe they don't. What exactly do you do? What is your involvement when it comes to candidates? What exactly has your involvement been when it comes to politics over the last 40 plus years?
Well, I have been a campaign official on 10 American presidential elections, nine Republicans and one Libertarian. I'm a New York Times best-selling author. I have a syndicated radio show. I appear regularly every day at InfoWars at 5 o'clock Eastern on the War Room. I also host the Alex Jones Show on Wednesdays. I'm working on two more books. I have worked for a host of Republican candidates for governor, U.S. Senate, Congress, and some lower offices over the last 50 years. I guess I'm today more of a pundit, more of a writer and a reporter. I didn't have any formal candidate work in the last three cycles, I don't believe. I guess you would have to say today I work providing political commentary.
Watching Roger on ABC this week with George Stephanopoulos on Sunday, I got to ask you the question: why would you do that to yourself? Why would you, why would you put yourself on that show and go through that? I thought you handled yourself very well, by the way. But why do that?
Because in our American society, when you are formally accused or even informally accused of wrongdoing, and you don't respond, you say no comment or Roger Stone was not available, people say, aha, you see, he's guilty. And you can go on CNN and see mindless baboons like Wolf Blitzer say, oh, this indictment is a slam dunk. Well, you couldn't possibly know that without seeing my entire 4.5 hours of testimony and see how the little snippets that are cited in the indictment are taken out of context or see the context in which they were said, which is, of course, the exact idea. So I think it's vitally important to get out there and provide what the grand jury was never allowed to hear, which is rebuttal, exculpatory information, the truth. And that's why I chose to go out there. And who knows, I may become gagged in this case.
Right.
A number of people in the media are advocating that. I think it's un-American for me not to be allowed to defend myself when the special counsel and the Justice Department are leaking like a sieve, leaking detrimental information. And then I think every American understands that I'm 66 years old. I don't own a firearm. I don't have a valid passport. I'm not a flight risk. The idea that my home had to be stormed by 29 SWAT member with drawn assault weapons and night vision goggles and sidearms, with a helicopter overhead, with 17 vehicles and including two armored assault vehicles in the front yard, with amphibious FBI boats pulling up to the dock on the canal where my house backs up, surrounding my house, completely unnecessary. We had to do it because we were afraid he would destroy evidence. I've been under investigation for 2 years. Why would I destroy evidence yesterday? I've never destroyed evidence, just for the record.
Sure.
If I were going to do so, why would I do it on Thursday? These are Gestapo tactics. This is something you would expect to see in Nazi Germany or Soviet Russia, but not here in the United States. They know I'm represented. They could have contacted my lawyers. I would have turned myself in.
Right.
My wife is hearing impaired. My first thought was they're going to think that she's disregarding an instruction and they're going to shoot her. There was nobody else in the house. My dogs are still traumatized. My puppy, Pee-wee, who's only 2, won't come out from under the bed. He's still shaking because of this. It was uncalled for, but it's meant to intimidate. That's the point. And then the worst part of it, Jimmy, a CNN camera crew recording the whole thing. If I was dangerous, well, then why would they put that crew's life in danger? But I'm not dangerous. They're the ones who are dangerous.
Do you think that backfired, Roger? I mean, look, the level of force that they brought against you was for the aesthetics. Do you think that backfired and this is actually working in your favor right now? Because a lot of people have a concern about an abusive government, a draconian government, a police state, and the video that CNN showed proved all that. Is this kind of working in your favor a little bit?
Well, I think the government may have overplayed their hands. If this was meant to induce me to roll over and plead guilty to things I didn't do, it didn't work in that regard. Hundreds of thousands of people have now gone to stonedefensefund.com to contribute to my legal defense fund because they were repulsed by the show of force and the overreaction of the government. I am not a violent person. I have no previous criminal record. I'm very, very recognizable thanks to CNN and MSNBC. The chances of my fleeing are zero. We didn't need the boats in the backyard. I can't even swim. So, I think it has turned a lot of Americans, has opened their eyes to these abuses. Why the FBI director would allow such a thing is very hard to understand. And why CNN knew about my arrest in advance and had a camera crew here is troubling. The leaking of a search warrant is highly illegal because if a search warrant leaked, obviously the subject of the search warrant could destroy evidence in the face of it, which I most definitely have not done.
Roger, I've known you for 4 years now. You've been a weekly contributor on my show on many different platforms. I've broken bread with you. You came here to Baltimore on your own dime to spend time here. I spent time with you out in Cleveland. I do think it's important that I say this. At no point did you ever set the conversation or tell me to ask you a specific question. And I think that needs to be said right now when we're talking about collusion and things of that nature.
I'm not indicted for collusion. I'm not indicted for conspiracy. It's not alleged that I received anything whatsoever from WikiLeaks, including allegedly hacked or allegedly stolen emails and passed them on to Donald Trump or the Trump campaign or anyone else. There are some people bearing false witness against me in this indictment. I believe there are people who have an axe to grind against me, which will be demonstrable, or who are seeking a reduction in their own sentences. But that will all be dealt with at trial. So I'm accused of nonviolent process crimes, yet they launch, an invasive attack on my home, surrounding my home, raiding my home at dawn. I think the American people are disgusted by this.
I agree with you, Roger. I also think that you were kind of the biggest fish in this pond right now when it comes to the Mueller investigation. I don't think you were surprised by what happened the other day. I don't think anybody is. You're fighting it, and I think you're going to, at the end of the day, end up victorious. But you were kind of the big fish in the pond on this. Do you think with what happened with you personally, we're seeing the end of the Mueller investigation, and at some point he's got to kind of turn his hand over and show his cards?
Jimmy, I don't know, but the idea of sending more men after me than they sent after bin Laden, treating me like El Chapo or Pablo Escobar, is just beyond belief. And again, the judge released me on essentially on a signature on a surety bond. So if I were the government didn't object to. So if I were a flight risk, I would have been required to post some bond. I am not. I don't know what Mr. Mueller has. The results of what we've seen so far indicate that there is no Russian collusion. So maybe my commentary here on your show or elsewhere criticizing this is a partisan witch hunt. Maybe that is the reason I've been targeted. I think there's an effort to silence me, just as there is an effort to silence my platform at InfoWars, which you don't have to agree with anyone there. You have to agree with Alex Jones or me, but you can agree with our First Amendment right to speak. And
on a lighter note, Roger, your name is now synonymous with Live from New York. It's Saturday night with SNL. I'm sure you saw the skit. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I love Steve Martin. I think it's funny, but I didn't think that was anything like me. It didn't look like me. And my books don't suck. They're actually very good. So But who can forget when he did, Disco Tut? So,
Right.
look, I've now been depicted on Family Guy. There's an upcoming SNL segment on me.
Yeah.
There are 4 phases of fame. Phase 1, who's Roger Stone? Phase 2, get me Roger Stone. Phase 3, get me a Roger Stone type. Phase 4, who is Roger Stone? I guess I'm in phase 2.
And Roger, real quick before I let you go, I have Ed Hale Jr. in studio with me. You've talked to him multiple times in the past. I wanted to let him get one question in with you before we go. Ed.
Roger, thanks so much for taking time. I know you're kind of busy right now, so thank you so much for taking time to meet up with Jimmy and talk with us. Just, you think it's a coincidence that the FBI chooses now, timing-wise, to indict and arrest you 2.5 weeks after the House changes to Democratic control?
No, but people should realize that since I'm accused of lying in front of the House Intelligence Committee, my lawyers will be calling many members of that committee as witnesses, and we will be able to expose the lies of Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell. Mr. Schiff said in my hearing that the FBI did inspect the computer servers of the DNC, for example. And when people read the actual transcript, you will see that it's a perjury trap, that I'm badgered and asked trick questions over and over and over again, hoping that I will slip. Perjury requires both intent and materiality. Yet Mr. Comey, Mr. Brennan, Mr. McCabe, Mr. General Clapper, Hillary Clinton himself, they all lied under oath on material matters before the Congress. Hillary Clinton herself, yet none of them have been charged. I think most Americans see the hypocrisy of this.
Gotcha. And lastly, why do you think that the Justice Department or another independent agency isn't looking into the past administration and the FBI for abuse of power with all the queries that they had the NSA do early on while it was still candidate Trump to try to build a case before there was any kind of, there was no smoking gun to show that the Trump campaign had anything to do with Russian collusion?
That's the most amazing thing. We have a stunning abuse of power in which FISA warrants were used to spy on individuals within the Trump campaign circle, although at a very low level. On the other hand, the New York Times reported on January 20th, 2017, that I was among Trump supporters who were being surveilled. We hope to learn about that in discovery in my case. The FBI very clearly infiltrated the Trump campaign. Notice I haven't been indicted for failing to remember that I met with Henry Greenberg, who turned out to be an ethnic Russian, because Mr. Greenberg turned out to be an FBI informant working for James Comey. Why was he coming to see me in May of 2016? Strange. So, no, there needs to be a special counsel to look into the abuses of the Obama administration in the efforts to rig this election. And the Russian collusion investigation, as I've said for a long time, is a distraction from those crimes. That's the real purpose of it.
All right.
Roger, always appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
We'll continue the conversation. Thank you so much for talking to us on a very, very, very busy week for you. Talk to you soon. Thank you very much, Roger Stone. You're watching the Jimmy Mathis Show. Quick break, and we'll be right back.